The strange readings appeared on Dr. James Miller's computer screen for the third time that week. He rubbed his tired eyes and leaned closer to the monitor, watching as the atmospheric data showed impossible patterns in the night sky. Something was up there, distorting the air in ways that his equipment could barely detect. The problem was, nobody believed him. It started 2 months ago, when he first noticed the odd variations in his sky survey data. At first, he thought it was just a problem with his instruments. But after checking and rechecking every piece of equipment, he knew the readings were real. The distortions moved in patterns too precise to be natural phenomena. The university lab was quiet at this late hour. Outside his window, the city lights twinkled under a clear night sky. Miller took another sip of his cold coffee and started comparing the latest readings with his previous data. The patterns were getting stronger, or maybe his equipment was just getting better at detecting them. His colleagues had laughed when he tried to explain his findings. Space dust, some said. Equipment malfunction, others suggested. But Miller knew better. He had spent 20 years studying atmospheric patterns, and this was something entirely new. Today was different, though. The patterns had changed. Instead of the usual random-seeming movements, the distortions were forming clear geometric shapes high in the atmosphere. Miller's hands shook as he pulled up the satellite imagery. There, barely visible in the thermal scans, were perfect hexagons floating in the upper atmosphere. He picked up his phone to call someone, anyone, but stopped. Who would believe him? Last month's presentation to the physics department had ended in polite smiles and shaking heads. His funding was already on thin ice. One more wild claim, and he might lose everything he'd worked for. The computer beeped, drawing his attention back to the screen. The hexagonal patterns were moving, shifting in perfect synchronization. Miller started recording the data, his heart racing. This wasn't natural. Nothing in nature moved with such precision. A soft knock at his office door made him jump. The janitor, Tom, poked his head in. "Still here, Doc? It's past midnight." Miller waved him in. "Tom, come look at this. Tell me what you see." Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes, especially untrained ones, could spot things scientists missed. Tom squinted at the screen showing the thermal imaging feed. "Looks like a bunch of honeycomb shapes up in the sky. That normal?" Miller's excitement grew. "You can see them. The hexagons. Clear as day. Why shouldn't I?" "Because they shouldn't be there at all." Miller quickly explained his research, using simpler terms than he had with his colleagues. Tom listened carefully, nodding along. "You know," Tom said thoughtfully, "my grandson plays this video game where aliens hide their ships using some kind of invisible shield. Makes the air look kind of funny, like what you're showing here." Miller froze. It was such a simple suggestion, but it made perfect sense. What if these distortions weren't just atmospheric anomalies? What if they were signs of something artificial? He spent the next hour pulling up every piece of data he had collected. Now that he was looking for signs of artificial cloaking rather than natural phenomena, new patterns emerged. The movements weren't random at all. They were purposeful, like a grid being systematically moved across the planet. As the first light of dawn began to peek through his window, Miller made a decision. He started writing an email to Kate Anderson, a radio astronomer he had met at last year's conference. She had mentioned detecting strange patterns in her deep space signals. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it. But now, he attached his data files and wrote, "Kate, I know this might sound crazy, but I think something is watching us. Something that doesn't want to be seen. But they didn't count on us noticing the way they bend light and disturb our atmosphere. If you're detecting anything unusual in your radio signals, please contact me immediately." As he hit send, Miller looked out at the brightening sky. Up there, hidden behind their perfect cloaking technology, someone or something was watching. They thought they were invisible, undetectable, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to notice patterns, to see what shouldn't be there. The game of hide and seek was about to end. Humanity just didn't know it yet. Kate Anderson was used to getting strange emails from fellow scientists. Working in radio astronomy meant dealing with all sorts of theories about signals from space. But Dr. Miller's email was different. His data matched perfectly with what she had been seeing in her own research for the past 3 months. She sat in her observatory's control room, surrounded by humming computers and blinking lights. The massive radio telescope outside tracked the night sky automatically, collecting data that usually showed nothing but cosmic background noise. But lately, the noise hadn't been random at all. Her phone rang. It was Miller. "Did you look at the files?" he asked without saying hello. "I did," she replied, pulling up both their data sets on her screens. "These patterns match exactly with the interference I've been tracking. Whatever's causing your atmospheric distortions is also blocking specific radio frequencies. It's like they're trying to listen to all our communications while hiding their own." "Can you come to my lab?" Miller asked. "I think we need to talk about this in person." The next day, they sat in Miller's office, papers and graphs spread across his desk. Kate pointed to one of her readings. "Look here. Every time your instruments detect those hexagonal patterns, my radio telescope picks up these regular pulses. They're too precise to be natural." "But what's really interesting," Miller said, "is how they move. They're following population centers, watching us." A knock on the door made them both jump. A man in a crisp military uniform stood there, his face serious. "Dr. Miller, Dr. Anderson, I'm Colonel Thompson. We need to talk." The colonel closed the door behind him and pulled up a chair. "For the past year, our satellites have been picking up strange anomalies. Things appearing and disappearing. Objects moving in ways that defy physics. We've been watching your research with great interest." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. "You know what these things are?" "We have theories," Thompson said. "But what's more important is that you two have independently confirmed what our best instruments have been telling us. Something is up there, watching us, and they think we can't see them." Miller spread out his latest readings. "The patterns are getting more frequent. Whatever they're doing, they're getting bolder. Or more numerous," Kate added. She pulled out her laptop and showed them a new analysis. "The radio interference is spreading. It's like having a crowd of invisible people in a room. The more of them there are, the harder it is to stay completely quiet." Colonel Thompson nodded. "Our analysts came to the same conclusion. We think there's an entire fleet up there, hidden behind some kind of advanced cloaking technology. But they made one mistake. They didn't account for human pattern recognition," Miller finished. "We might not be able to see them directly, but we can see how they affect everything around them." Kate started typing rapidly on her laptop. "Look at this. If we combine all our data, we can start mapping their movements. They're not random at all. They're systematic, methodical. Like they're studying us," Thompson said grimly. "Question is, what do we do with this information?" Miller stood up and walked to his window, looking at the sky. "We need to prove it beyond any doubt. If we go public with half-finished research, we'll be laughed out of the scientific community. We need more data, more evidence, and we need to understand why they're here," Kate added. "They have technology far beyond ours, yet they're just watching. Why?" Colonel Thompson straightened his uniform. "That's where the military comes in. We've been developing new detection methods based on your research. We can help you gather more data, but everything stays classified for now. We can't risk them realizing we can detect them." The three of them looked at each other, understanding the weight of what they were undertaking. Somewhere up there, an alien civilization thought they were cleverly hidden, studying humanity without being noticed. But humans had done what they did best: noticed patterns, asked questions, and refused to ignore what their instincts told them was wrong. "So," Kate said, breaking the silence, "when do we start?" Miller smiled. "We already have. They just don't know it yet." The military base's underground command center hummed with activity. 3 weeks had passed since Colonel Thompson brought Miller and Kate into the classified project, and their discoveries had grown more alarming each day. Miller stood before a large screen showing a global map dotted with glowing points of light. Each point represented a confirmed distortion in the atmosphere, a hidden alien ship. There were hundreds of them now, forming patterns that looked like a giant net around Earth. "They're everywhere," Kate said, adjusting the radio frequency monitors. "And they're communicating with each other constantly. We just couldn't hear it before because we weren't listening the right way." Colonel Thompson walked in with a group of military scientists. "Show them what you found this morning," he told Miller. Miller typed on his keyboard, and the map zoomed in on North America. "Watch this pattern." The dots of light moved in perfect synchronization, like a dance. They're not just watching us. They're mapping everything. Our cities, power grids, communication networks. One of the military scientists, Dr. Brown, stepped forward. "We've adapted your detection method to work with our satellite network. The scale of their operation is incredible." He pressed a button, and the map switched to a 3D view of Earth's orbit. Thousands of previously invisible objects appeared, arranged in precise geometric patterns around the planet. "It's an entire invasion fleet," Kate whispered. "Just waiting up there." "Not an invasion fleet," Miller corrected. "A research fleet. Look at their positioning. They're set up for maximum observation coverage. If they wanted to attack, why wait? They clearly have the technology to overpower us." Colonel Thompson nodded. "Our analysts agree. But that doesn't make this any less dangerous. They're studying us like we're insects in a jar." Kate pulled up her latest radio data. "The interesting thing is how they hide. Their cloaking technology bends light around their ships, making them invisible to our eyes. But they didn't account for how this affects the space around them. Like ripples in a pond," Miller added. "You might not see the rock that fell in, but you can see the ripples it makes." Human brains are amazingly good at noticing these tiny disturbances, even if we don't consciously realize what we're seeing. Dr. Brown pointed to a new set of readings. "Some people have been reporting strange dreams, feelings of being watched. We thought it was just anxiety, but look at this." He overlaid a map of these reports with the alien ship positions. They matched perfectly. "Our subconscious minds are picking up their presence," Miller said excitedly. "We're literally sensing them without realizing it." A young technician ran into the room with a printout. "Sir, you need to see this. We've detected a pattern change in their movements." Everyone gathered around as the technician pulled up the data. The alien ships were shifting positions, creating new formations they hadn't seen before. "They're concentrating around major population centers," Colonel Thompson observed. "But why now? What's changed?" Kate's computer started beeping. The radio interference just spiked. "They're communicating more than ever before." Miller studied the patterns, his mind racing. I think they're starting a new phase of their observation. They're moving closer, trying to gather more detailed data." "Which means they might make mistakes," Colonel Thompson said. "Mistakes we can use to prove their existence beyond any doubt." "We need to act fast," Kate insisted. "The closer they get, the more likely people are to notice something's wrong. If panic breaks out." Colonel Thompson straightened up. "Agreed. Dr. Miller, Dr. Anderson, you have full access to all our resources. Find a way to track them consistently, something we can use to show the world what's happening, when the time is right." Miller looked at the mass of alien ships surrounding their planet. The observers thought their technology made them perfectly invisible, but they had underestimated humanity's ability to sense what shouldn't be there. Now, surrounded by the most advanced tracking equipment on Earth, he finally had a chance to prove what he'd known all along. "They think they're studying us," he said quietly. "But we're learning about them too. And soon, very soon, they're going to realize they're not as hidden as they thought." Miller hadn't slept in 2 days, but he couldn't stop now. The breakthrough was too important. He stared at his computer screen while Kate paced behind him, both of them waiting for the final calculations to finish. "If this works," Kate said, "we'll be able to track every single one of their ships, no matter how well they're hidden." The underground military facility had become their second home. Banks of computers lined the walls, each one running complex algorithms designed to detect the smallest disturbances in the atmosphere. But this new program was different. It didn't just detect the disturbances, it predicted them. Colonel Thompson walked in, carrying fresh coffee for everyone. "Please tell me you have good news. The brass is getting nervous about all these resources we're using." Miller pointed to his screen. "Watch this." He started the simulation. On the large wall display, thousands of dots appeared, each representing a hidden alien ship. As the simulation ran forward in time, the dots moved in perfect patterns. "We can now predict where they'll be before they get there." "How?" Thompson asked, leaning closer. "They're studying us systematically," Kate explained, "moving from city to city, following human behavior patterns. Once we understood their research methodology, we could predict their observation routes." A young technician burst into the room. "Dr. Miller, the sensors are picking up something huge." They rushed to the main control room. The wall-sized screens showed a massive disturbance forming high above the Pacific Ocean. Whatever was up there, it was bigger than anything they detected before. "Their mothership?" Thompson wondered aloud. Miller shook his head. "No, look at the pattern. It's not one big ship. It's hundreds of smaller ones, all gathering in one place." Kate rushed to her radio equipment. "The communication signals are off the charts. Something's happening." They watched as more and more alien ships joined the gathering. The ripples in the atmosphere were so strong now that even their regular satellites could detect them. "They're planning something," Thompson said grimly. "We need to decide what to do. Fast." Miller had been quiet, studying the patterns. "I don't think they're planning an attack," he said slowly. "Look at how they're arranged. It's like they're forming some kind of observation array. They're about to start a new phase of their research." "Which means this is our chance," Kate said suddenly. "They're all gathered in one place, focused on their work. If we're going to make contact, this is the perfect time." Thompson looked skeptical. "Make contact? We don't even know if we can communicate with them." "We don't need to understand their language," Miller said, getting excited. "We just need to show them that we can see them. Look, their ships create specific patterns in the atmosphere. What if we replicate those patterns?" Kate caught on immediately, like holding up a mirror to them. "We could use our new atmospheric processors to create similar distortions." "Is that possible?" Thompson asked. Miller was already typing. "The processors were designed to detect their distortions. With some modifications, we could make them generate similar effects. Not as sophisticated as their technology, but enough to get their attention. And show them that we understand how their cloaking technology works," Kate added. "They think they're completely invisible, but we've figured out their basic principles." Thompson considered for a long moment. "This is a big step. Once we do this, there's no going back. They'll know we can see them." "They're going to find out eventually," Miller said. "Better to reveal it on our terms, when we're ready. Show them that humanity is more capable than they thought." The colonel nodded slowly. "How long to modify the processors?" "A few hours," Miller said. "We've already done most of the theoretical work. We just need to reverse the output." "Do it," Thompson ordered, "but be ready for anything. We have no idea how they'll react when they realize their cover is blown." As they rushed to work, Miller couldn't help but smile. After months of watching the Watchers, they were finally going to turn the tables. The aliens thought they were conducting a perfect, invisible study of humanity. They were about to learn that humans weren't just simple test subjects. They were clever enough to see through the most advanced camouflage in the galaxy. The time for hiding was over. First contact was about to begin, and humanity would be the one making the first move. The modified atmospheric processors hummed loudly in the desert night. Miller checked the readings one last time while Kate calibrated the final settings. Around them, military personnel moved quickly and quietly, preparing for whatever might happen next. Equipment status. Colonel Thompson's voice crackled over the radio. All systems ready, Kate replied. The processors are working perfectly. We can create atmospheric distortions that exactly match their cloaking patterns. Miller looked up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, hundreds of alien ships were still gathered, their massive observation array hidden behind their advanced technology. To the naked eye, the sky looked perfectly normal. But their instruments told a different story. Remember, Thompson said, we only get one shot at this. If they realize we can see them and respond badly. They won't, Miller interrupted. Think about it. They've been studying us for who knows how long. If they wanted to harm us, they would have done it already. Kate finished her calculations, ready to begin transmission on your order, Colonel. Thompson took a deep breath. Start the sequence. Kate pressed a series of buttons. The processor's hum grew louder, and the air above them began to shimmer. Just like the alien ships, they were now creating controlled distortions in the atmosphere, a message written in the language of bent light and twisted air. Signal strength at 20%, Kate reported, increasing gradually. On their monitors, they could see the alien ships reacting. The perfect geometric pattern of their observation array wavered slightly. They've noticed, Miller said excitedly. Look, they're adjusting their positions. The processors continued their work, creating larger and more complex distortions. They were essentially holding up a mirror to the aliens' own technology, showing them that humans could manipulate the very forces they used to hide. Suddenly, all their instruments went crazy. The alien ships were moving, breaking their careful formation. Are they retreating? Thompson asked tensely. No, Kate said, studying her readings. They're rearranging themselves. The radio signals are changing too. They're communicating like crazy up there. Miller watched as new patterns formed in the sky. The alien ships were creating their own deliberate distortions now, much stronger than before. They were responding. They're acknowledging us, he said softly. They know we can see them. The air above them shimmered more intensely. The alien ships were dropping their careful camouflage, allowing themselves to be slightly more visible. Not enough for the naked eye, but clear as day on their instruments. Message coming in, Kate announced. They're using some kind of modulated atmospheric distortion. It's like they're trying to speak our language using their technology. Military scientists rushed to analyze the patterns. Minutes passed in tense silence as computers worked to decode the alien response. Got it, one scientist called out. They're sending the same mathematical sequence over and over. Prime numbers. It's a classic first contact protocol. Miller laughed. Of course. They're scientists too. They understand the universal language of mathematics. Colonel Thompson moved closer to the monitors. Can we respond? Already on it, Kate said. She typed quickly, programming the processors to generate the next number in the sequence. The response was immediate. The alien ships shifted again, forming a new pattern that their computers quickly decoded. It was a more complex mathematical sequence. They're testing us, Miller realized, making sure this isn't just some random natural phenomenon. For the next hour, they exchanged increasingly complex mathematical patterns with the alien ships. Each successful exchange seemed to excite the aliens more, their ships moving in what almost looked like joyful patterns. New message coming in, Kate announced. This one's different. They're using Earth languages, multiple of them. They've been studying our communications all this time. The first clear message from the aliens appeared on their screens. We see you seeing us. Miller grinned. Well, that's one way to break the ice. Colonel Thompson stared at the message. So what happens now? Now, Miller looked up at the shimmering sky. Now we show them that humanity is ready for a real conversation. They came here to study us in secret. Instead, they're going to have to deal with us as equals. The night sky continued to shimmer as two civilizations, both thinking they had been clever, prepared to truly meet each other for the first time. 3 days after first contact, the world had changed completely. The aliens, who called themselves the Watchers, had finally revealed themselves fully. Their ships now hung visible in the sky, their cloaking technology partially disabled as a show of good faith. Miller sat in a hastily constructed meeting room at the military base, watching the alien representatives on the large screen. They had chosen to communicate through video links at first, showing themselves as tall, silvery beings with smooth, reflective skin that seemed to bend light naturally. "We have studied your species for 300 years, the alien speaker said, their words automatically translated by their advanced systems. "Never did we expect you to discover us in this way." Kate, sitting next to Miller, couldn't hide her smile. "Your cloaking technology is incredible, but you didn't account for how human brains process visual information. We can sense patterns that even we don't consciously understand." The alien made a gesture that their cultural experts said showed respect. "This is why we find your species so fascinating. You see things differently than any other civilization we have encountered." Colonel Thompson, now part of the diplomatic team, leaned forward. "How many other civilizations have you studied?" 17 spacefaring species, the alien replied. "None have detected us before. Our methods were considered perfect. You have, how do you say it, broken our perfect record." Miller pulled up his original atmospheric data on a tablet. "Your ships create tiny disturbances in the air. Individually, they're almost impossible to notice. But together, they form patterns. Human brains are extremely good at noticing when something isn't quite right, even if we can't immediately explain why." The alien representatives conferred among themselves briefly. "This ability of yours, it is remarkable. We believed our technology could fool any sensing method. Instead, you used your natural biological capabilities to see through our deception. That's the thing about humans," Kate said. "We're naturally curious. When something doesn't feel right, we keep looking until we figure out why." More aliens had joined the video conference now, their silvery forms filling the screen. One of them, marked as a senior scientist, spoke up. "We must revise all our research methods. If humans can detect us, perhaps other species have abilities we haven't considered." Thompson smiled diplomatically. "Maybe this is a chance for us to work together. Open research, shared knowledge. Better than hiding in the shadows, don't you think?" The alien's leader made that respectful gesture again. "Yes, we have learned an important lesson. The most advanced technology cannot replace genuine interaction and understanding." Miller noticed something interesting on his instruments. "Your ships, they're still using some kind of cloaking technology, aren't they? Just not as much as before." "Correct," the alien scientist said. "We are, what is your phrase? Testing the waters, showing ourselves gradually to avoid causing panic among your population." Kate checked her own readings. "You're letting us see exactly what you want us to see. That's pretty impressive control over your technology." The alien seemed pleased by her observation. "We have had many centuries to perfect our abilities. Perhaps now we can teach some of our methods to humanity in exchange for learning more about your unique perceptual abilities." Thompson sat up straighter. "Are you proposing an official exchange of knowledge?" "More than that," the alien leader said. "We propose a partnership. Your species has proven itself more capable than we imagined. We would like to invite Earth to join the Galactic Research Coalition." The humans in the room looked at each other in surprise. This was moving faster than anyone had expected. "Of course," the alien continued, "this would mean revealing ourselves to your entire population. Are you prepared for such a step?" Miller thought about how far they'd come, from his first confused readings to this moment. "I think we've proven that humans can handle surprises pretty well, especially when we work together to understand them." The alien leader made a new gesture, one their experts hadn't seen before. "Then let us begin this new chapter together. Not as observers and subjects, but as equals. We have much to learn from each other." As the meeting continued, Miller looked out the window at the now visible alien ships in the sky. They had started this journey trying to catch hidden watchers, and ended up helping humanity join a galactic community. All because humans had that special ability to notice when something wasn't quite right, and the determination to figure out why. 1 year had passed since the day humans caught their cosmic watchers. The view from Miller's new laboratory showed both Earth and space, a perfect symbol of humanity's new place in the galaxy. The research station orbited Earth at a height where the curve of the planet was clearly visible, and alien ships now moved openly through space around it. Miller adjusted the settings on his latest experiment while Kate worked at a station nearby, coordinating with their alien colleagues. The laboratory itself was a marvel of combined human and alien technology, with holographic displays showing data in ways that took advantage of human pattern recognition abilities. "Look at these readings," Kate called out, pointing to a stream of data. "The new detection system is working better than we expected. We can now spot cloaked ships from twice the distance." A tall, silvery figure moved smoothly across the room to examine her findings. The alien scientist, whom they called First Observer, made an appreciative gesture. "Your human ability to notice subtle patterns continues to amaze us. We used this cloaking technology for thousands of years, yet you help us understand it in new ways." Miller smiled as he remembered their first confused attempts to spot the hidden ships. Now, humans and aliens worked side by side, combining their different ways of seeing the universe. "We just notice things differently," he said. "Sometimes a fresh perspective is all you need." The station's communication system activated, showing Colonel Thompson's face. He now served as Earth's representative to the Galactic Research Coalition. "Good news, everyone. The Council has approved our proposal. We're getting 5 more research stations." First Observer's skin rippled with colors, their way of showing excitement. "This will greatly expand our joint research capabilities. More human observers means more chances to discover what else we might have missed in our studies." Kate pulled up a galaxy map, now filled with data about other civilizations they had learned about. "It's still amazing to think about. You were watching us, thinking you were completely hidden. Now we're helping you improve your technology and observation methods, and learning so much in return," Miller added, looking at the advanced equipment around them. The aliens had kept their promise, sharing knowledge freely once they understood humanity was ready for it. A group of young human scientists entered the laboratory, fresh from Earth's new space academy. They stopped in awe, seeing their alien colleagues in person for the first time. First Observer welcomed them with a traditional human gesture, a wave, which they had adopted after learning its meaning. "The next generation of observers," Thompson said proudly through the video link. "They'll grow up knowing we're part of something bigger." Miller walked over to his favorite viewing window, where Earth hung like a blue jewel in space. Research ships of various alien designs moved past, their cloaking systems now modified to be partially visible to human eyes, a courtesy that had become standard practice. "We've started something new here," he said to no one in particular. "Not just improving technology, but understanding how different species see the universe in their own unique ways." First Observer joined him at the window. "Indeed. We thought we were studying humanity, but you ended up teaching us instead. Our most valuable lesson was learning that there is always more than one way to see things." Kate called everyone's attention to her screen. "Speaking of which, look at this. The new Deep Space Survey is picking up some interesting patterns. Something out there is bending light in ways we haven't seen before." The humans and aliens gathered around her display, each bringing their own unique perspective to this new mystery. Miller felt that familiar excitement building, the thrill of discovery that had started with some strange readings in his university laboratory. "Well," he said, looking at their unlikely team of human and alien scientists, "should we go see what's hiding out there?" First Observer's skin shimmered with agreement. "Yes, but this time we go together. No more watching from the shadows. Thanks to humanity, we have learned there are better ways to explore the universe." As they began planning their new mission, Miller thought about how far they had come. Humans had proved they could spot what others thought was invisible, and in doing so, had helped create something even more important, a future where different species work together openly, each contributing their unique ways of seeing and understanding the vast mystery of space. The Watchers had become partners, and the universe was a bigger, more interesting place because of it.